Abusia ya share tia say in some bebre na na Ghana for a react e social media ne mu ba ko aye sa video yi ya prophet uche e ba be share kom say ya ready e be ni ti ya na me no e ka say ya re no aba ye fere say hunter virus.
We should pray against any killer diseases that will come 2026. Not to spread around the world, else it will be worse than COVID-19. 2026.
Now for people, I was South Africa, a kunipa, wa ha aduana enku ya wo muguswa number edekona eno na amanfo ede hu nkomo a doctors efo so a kire wo madwena nkomo a yekwakoti eye nkomo a ekọ so e wo menua be ma Clement a wo gossip any doctor bi nkomo a wotwetwe ye e kire kwan ya befa so ya e boy ho ban e wo yare ya ayi ne ti e wo na busu ama yenko te doctor ne nkomo ne ye ba be de kire nkomo.
Doctor, welcome to Gossips 24.
Thank you so much, Clement. I'm very grateful.
I mean, I am blessed to have you here. Behind the scenes, I was saying that I could have rewritten a favorite song of mine and then inserted your name in that particular song so that it fits how glad I am to have you. But Doc, let's get to today's conversation. Are we going to experience another COVID-19 situation of this whole hantavirus news that has started spreading on social media?
So hantavirus has actually been in existence for a long time, and it's usually around the Americas. But now it looks like we are having a case away from the Americas, and that's how come the world's eye is actually popping out of its socket. But I don't think it's something which we should actually be afraid of, because it's still far from getting to other places aside it being in South America. Mind you, the hantavirus actually happened, or the outbreak actually happened on a ship. Yeah, that ship was actually coming from Argentina, which is also South America. So it's something that is quite common there. Okay, just like the way Ebola is quite common in Africa than anywhere else in the world. Hantavirus is very, very common in South America than anywhere else in the world. So I don't think it's rid of it by now.
So you are saying that you don't foresee us getting to that stage where maybe one day we'll say there is a lockdown, even in Ghana will be affected, that there will be a lockdown even in Ghana?
Oh, the emergency response systems have been applied, and I know due to some of the stringent regulations around outbreaks like this, I think it's going to be contained. For instance, we're going to Cape Verde Islands when they came from Argentina to dock, but they were like, they don't want that. And finally, I heard that they are going all the way to Canary Islands around Spain.
And they are being rejected by the president of the Canary Islands.
Exactly. So they are trying to make sure that it's going to be well checked. I don't think it's going to be something that we are going to have a lockdown. I'm quite optimistic and hopeful that it's not going to happen like that.
Okay, Doc, aside you being quite optimistic, right? Let me be a pessimist here. Let's assume that there is a case in Ghana. Do you think Ghana, generally, from where you sit and from how you see the entire health structure in Ghana, do you think we are prepared if there should be a case of hantavirus or an outbreak here in Ghana? Do you think we are prepared?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Comparing Ebola virus to hantavirus is actually a chicken in the size of Ebola. But we're able to make sure it's well checked that it doesn't really even come to Ghana. Even if you hear it, then that means that it's someone who is coming from another country entering into Ghana. And even that, our port health systems have been put in place for surveillance and to be able to check out for some of these things. So I don't think, I'm quite hopeful. I'm quite hopeful that it's not going to get into Ghana. And even if it gets into Ghana, I think the systems that we learned, systems actually learn. Okay, emergency systems actually learn. So we've learned from Ebola, we've learned from COVID-19 how we're able to make sure that we're well protected. So institutional memory is still there. So we know that if it should even make incursions into Ghana, I think Ghana is well prepared to be able to face such.
So talking about you are talking about Ghana because Ghana is where we all live, and so we should be concerned about ourselves rather than being worried about the world. Of course, maybe we have relatives outside there, but let's talk about Ghana. So looking at Ghana, right? Do you think that sometimes because I'm not sure you've had this hantavirus conversation anywhere on any media platform in Ghana currently, right? So do you think Ghana sometimes delays in educating the public on some of these things? Do you think our reaction, we are not proactive enough, or is it just that because it is not yet here, there is no need? How do you take it?
Okay, so just like the way and manner when security is being done or security checks are being done, we just don't know up until it actually gets way hand, and then we have to brief the public about it. I can tell you that even now there are terrorist attacks against Ghana, but you never hear it because emergency responses, security responses are actually done very undercover. Do you understand? It's done undercover and you don't even know. I can tell you that the port health systems of Ghana is in such a way that if they find out that we have something like that, like hantavirus, for instance, there is an emergency response that has been ignited, but you don't know, such that anybody who is coming in, we know that we are able to. Okay.
Don't you think we should know? Don't you think it's something we should know? Like some sort of assurance.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying, that for instance, diseases don't just happen in the blue. They take transmissions. Okay, they have a way it's actually transmitted. So for instance, if anybody is coming from around Spain and Argentina, that particular person, maybe the person gets into Ghana, I can tell you that the emergency response would be activated, such that such a person would be so to say, very well screened as compared to any other person. Maybe the person coming from New Zealand, or the person coming from Swaziland, or the person coming from South Africa. The person coming from South Africa, we are going to be stringent on the person coming from Argentina as compared to someone coming from this other side, Argentina. Exactly. So we are actually very picky. We don't just go about looking out for certain groups of people just like that. We have an information that we rely on to be able to make decisions. Otherwise, we'll just be making decisions amiss. But we don't want to make decisions amiss. So I think that, or I know that emergency response systems have actually been activated, but we just don't know. If we have a case like that, I know that the Ministry of Health would come up with a communique that is going to make us all aware. For instance, we have port systems in Ghana. We have the land port and the water port.
Yeah, the water and then the air.
The water and the air. Okay, so water, air, land. So I can tell you that the emergency response at the water side or at the sea side are going to be heightened as compared to the other places, because we know that it actually happens on ships. So definitely the ships coming from South America by now will be properly screened before they even get or make incursions into Ghana. So I know that the emergency response systems have actually been activated. Ghana is also a member of the W.H.O, the World Health Organization. So we are also a point of reference when it comes to surveillance. And then when such reports are made, it's going to the headquarters of WHO, and then emergency response systems, if it's beyond Ghana, they come to help so that the outbreak doesn't get into the real country.
Let me take you back a bit, right? So in finding out about hantavirus, one of the things that we discovered was that it takes 8 weeks for symptoms to show and all of that, right? And in your submission, you mentioned that the emergency response and then the ports of entry, both land, sea, there's somebody coming from Argentina, Chile, or maybe the Netherlands, where some cases have been confirmed, or perhaps Germany and even South Africa, where the first fatality was also confirmed, and the second as well, right? The precautions will be stringent at the various ports of entries. What about someone who entered before this news got to the media, right? What about someone who entered before then? How are we going to handle such an individual? Are there measures in place in Ghana that we are able to track? Our health systems able to track such persons to see that, hey, you entered the country, you know that you entered the country about 4 or 6 weeks ago, but you were in this country, maybe you were in Argentina, maybe you were in this particular island. Is it possible? Do you have something like that?
Yeah. So yes, there is something like that. So diseases have symptoms and they have signs. So we put it together and it gives us a greater sense of suspicion that maybe you have maybe a viral infection, possibly due to a hantavirus. We will have other tests that we can do, like PCR, like the polymerase chain reaction test that we can do. The same polymerase chain reaction test was what we used to do for COVID-19. And I know Ghana has a lot of PCRs. So we don't just go thinking that everybody may have a hantavirus. We have systems in place. Sometimes diagnosis of exclusion, where maybe we check for malaria, we check for very common causes of fever and these constitutional symptoms like vomiting, which is associated with hantavirus. And then we realize that the person is actually not doing well. Then we start thinking. So it's a whole connected system, network system, well thought through, worked system that communicates one to another. So I know that even if somebody has actually breached the port and has entered into the system, I know that there are systems internally, not just externally around our bodies, but there are systems internally that are able to make sure that they communicate with the externals and W.H.O and any other organization and any other institution that is relevant to this particular conversation. So I know that Ghana can be able to do it if we're able to work out monkey virus, virus. We're able to work out COVID-19. We're able to work out Ebola. I don't think hantavirus is out of our reach. I think we're able to surmount this.
Well, you know, Ghana has history, right, with rodents, because this hantavirus is coming from rodents. I mean, the first case that was confirmed in China in 2020, it was a rat, or how should I say, it was a rat that infected him and he lost his life. Our markets, right, there are lots of rats in our markets. Ashaiman, Kataman, Tuabuwe. So if you say we've been able to manage monkeypox, COVID-19, don't you think some of the things that brought about these viruses or these pox infections are different from the hantavirus? So it's very possible that we can get it and it can easily infect us as Ghanaians, looking at how our markets are infested with these rodents and what have you.
Right. I mean, it's an intelligent guess, an intelligent question you're asking. In fact, Gossip 24, I like your analysis so well. But let me give you an example. Okay.
Yeah.
An example is Lassa virus. Lassa virus is very, very common in Nigeria. Lassa virus is also transmitted through rodents, or rodents are the main carriers of Lassa virus.
Okay.
It's very common in Nigeria. It's actually a hemorrhagic fever virus. So these infections are common in Nigeria. We have Nigerians making incursions into our country, but you never even hear of Lassa virus, isn't it? Exactly, because of
one can perhaps also argue that maybe our laboratories are not, maybe the how do I say, the equipment, we don't have those equipment to detect. Can't one argue?
Oh, it will be flawed. The reason why it's going to be flawed is because the laboratory test, confirmatory test for hantavirus is PCR, and Ghana has it. That was the same testing we're using for COVID-19. So we'll be able to test it. And the way and manner is, if you remember from COVID-19, from institutional memory, there was a certain time we had to fumigate our market areas in public areas.
Yes.
Because of some of these things. Okay.
Yes.
So it's there are systems that are put in place. it will almost be, it's just like criminal laws in Ghana. You will never know that actually laws work in Ghana up until it grips you hard. Okay, so it's the same thing that can be applied here. The systems that are running, I can tell you that each and every week in Ghana, we report cases on meningitis, but we only hear it at certain times of the year. It doesn't mean that all the other year, all the other months, we're not actually checking for meningitis.
Okay.
Are you getting it? So they are, so they are serialized reporting that you are supposed to do. Some of them you do them weekly. Okay, it goes to headquarters, it goes to Ghana Health Service, it goes to Ministry of Health. Even if you don't have a case, you are supposed to report it as 0. So there are emergency responses that are actually running day in and day out, but we actually don't know.
Okay, you are on the Nigeria point. I took you off that.
So just like Lassa virus is also it's a zoonotic disease. That is, when I say zoonotic disease, I mean diseases that can affect both animals and human beings at the same time. So it's a zoonotic disease, okay, that is actually transmitted through rodents, just like what? Hantavirus. So if we've been able to make sure, or we have a system put in place to be able to counteract Lassa virus, which is very, very close to us, just in Africa, in Nigeria. And we have a lot of Nigerians in Ghana. Viruses, exactly. We are brothers. So we don't have a lot of Lassa viruses. And I don't even remember the last time we even had Lassa virus in Ghana. Do you get it? Because they are emergency response systems. They are systems that have been able to learn and be re-engineered such that we'll be able to counteract some of these things. And mind you, the viruses, most of them are from the same family. For instance, hantavirus is from Bunya virus. It's from the family of the species called Bunya virus. Okay. So Bunya virus is also an automyxovirus, of which coronavirus is part, of which Lassa virus is also part of it. So you can clearly see that they all have a certain way of protection, or there's a way of treating it. There's a way of preventing them. For instance, we have typhoid, we have cholera. The way and manner we protect ourselves from cholera is the same way and manner we protect ourselves from typhoid. Are you getting it? So even if we are having an outbreak of cholera, we just have an institutional memory that has been learned, re-engineered for typhoid, and we just reapply for that of cholera. So just like hand washing for COVID-19, we just can apply.
You can apply.
So that it's not rocket science at all.
Yeah. Before I leave you, right? So let's assume you are in charge of preparing Ghana for maybe a hantavirus or outbreak possibility, right? Let's just say there are about 4 Ghanaians who are on the MV Hondios cruise ship, and you are preparing Ghana towards a possible hantavirus case. How would you have handled it?
So it's multi-sectorial. We have the primary, we have the secondary control, and then the tertiary control. But in our world today, it's all about disease prevention rather than getting into the secondary interventions and the tertiary interventions. So all that I want to tell people around us and people watching Gossip 24 TV is that, don't panic at all. Don't panic at all. All that you need to do is that if you know that there's someone who came into Ghana, he's your family member, who came into Ghana, he came through the ports, the water ports, from a ship, and the person is having any sign and symptom that even looks like malaria. It is not time for you to second guess that I'm going to the pharmacy. Get to the hospital as soon as possible. It's better to go to the hospital for them to say that we've been able to run the test and it is malaria and we are treating you of it, than thinking that, we can just go malaria away. Our health-seeking behavior should change, especially the whole country should have a change of health-seeking behavior, but most especially people who actually have relatives who came into the country through a ship. I think should have any symptoms like fever, like running, normal cold, all these symptoms. please, it's not time for you to think it's Qatar. It's not time for you to think it's malaria. Even if you do an RDT at home and it is malaria, I think you should go for a confirmatory test at the hospital. Let them tell you that, yes, indeed, it's due to malaria, and then we are treating you of it. Okay? And don't panic at all. The way and manner we are able to protect ourselves is that now you should be very wary of rodents that we buy, the bush meat that we buy. Okay, exactly. Yes, you should be really, really wary of things like that. Wash your hands regularly and thoroughly, especially when you are getting it from the market. Even when you are getting it from the supermarket, I think you should actually wash it very well. If it's suspicious, be very, very, very careful, especially the vegetables like lettuce, vegetables like cabbage, vegetables like carrots, because they are on the ground. Rodents can easily get access. I'm not saying rodents cannot get up the tree, but it's actually easy for rodents to get to cabbages that are on the floor and eat them and infest them. So you should be very wary of things I have said like that. And then hand washing, just your normal things that we used to do for COVID-19 is just good enough for us to be able to protect ourselves. And always know, when it comes to emergency responses, when it comes to leadership, health leadership in the world, Ghana sits on top. When it comes to Africa, Ghana sits on top, and that's how come we hear lots of outbreaks in Africa, in the world, and Ghana seems to be protected. We are, religious people, but I can also tell that we are very, very scientific in our approach in Ghana. We don't just take decisions amiss or haphazardly. It is well structured, well institutionalized. So just don't panic. And as time goes on, it's making incursions into neighborhoods or neighborhood countries around us, Burkina Faso, Kodo, the West African countries, Benin. You will be informed. You will be informed that there's something like that, and then you would actually upscale your defenses when it comes to protection of yourself from hantavirus. Inti membuhu at all.
Yamboho, Doc, thanks so much for doing this with us, and God bless you for your words of assurance and letting us know that we have the equipment, we have the facilities, and we have learned from COVID-19, and we've been able to prevent a lot of outbreaks from happening in Ghana. In the example from Nigeria with respect to the Lassa virus is even one that gives us assurance. Thanks so much for doing this with us. And so now is Dr. Michael Barbini. Like I said, he's been on a lot of platforms. He's been on BBC, he's been on TV3, name it, Joy, MX, and now on Gossips 24. So God bless you so much, Doc. Now when you're mentioning, you add us to your list. So we are blessed to have you on our platform. Any final word?
It's a privilege to be on Gossip 24. I've been watching Gossip 24 from medical school. So it's actually a privilege to. I'm actually one of your subscribers, so it's like it's a community we've built, and we're all learning from each other.
Thank you. Let's do this another time.
I was away a course so Clement or gossip only doctor no come to train your faculty na we no and I yegina so e dey afutu sem akode ma ye ho se sa brede yare enya ade se eye fedi agrokra nti epia na yama ahweyie ayekese pa e wo yakwanu ye safety measures abra COVID-19 yiniti ye dey to akwa mu se ebia ye dey samna e ho ye nsa abra no ye dey no smack e kata ya no ye use ye sanitizer ene ade no and you say for now, young to be as my Ghana. If I be pim, the emphasis safety measures in work when I am boy, Hobart, St. Penny say, I Honda so, and the Bema, it's a boy of Hobaya, and no, a Bayton say, but you what you do not say, Health Minister, Honorable Community Akando, one man and the uncle pass, and a bayan or my Ghana, young court and Kukutani, we say, and I think it's message without comments, our comment section or all the social media handles no. It's too much GH. Or subscribe like that show. Now, for so any be actually at the dark road macro.